It wasn't packed, but there was a fair amount of people there, more than I thought.
All right, I have 6:30. We will go ahead and get started. Call the meeting to order. And Marge, ask for a roll call.
Isaac Dornfeld. Here. Marge Jorgensen, I'm here. John Kraus Jr.
Here.
Mary Kunz.
Here.
Maria Mason. Lisa Panzer. Here. Chad Prevey.
Here.
Gary Spielman.
Here.
Joanne Tijewski.
Here.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we have minutes from the regular meeting January 8th.
I move for approval of the January 8th minutes.
Second.
All right, motion and a second then to approve the minutes from January 8th. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those not, same sign. All right, thank you for those that are in attendance tonight and those of you watching online. Appreciate your attendance and joining us this evening. We have nobody signed up for public comment, and we will move to agenda. I will need a motion to amend the agenda and remove 8.3 because of a scheduling conflict. That'll be rescheduled.
So moved.
All right, second?
Second.
A motion, a second to amend the agenda, removing 8.3. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those not, same sign. All right, therefore I would look for motion.
I'll move to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion and a second then to adopt the agenda as presented. With that amendment, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those not, same sign. All right, moving right along. We have 8.1 School of the Month, Jefferson Elementary School. Welcome.
Good evening. Good to see you. So thank you so much for letting us be here tonight to talk about Jefferson Elementary. We really appreciate the opportunity. We're going to start out here with our opening slide and just point your direction at the top there. We have our Jefferson motto or our slogan, our expectations this year that we speak about each and every week are strong minds, strong bodies, big hearts. So that's what we're focusing on with our time at Jefferson this year, trying to help all of our learners have those strong minds, have those strong bodies, and have those big hearts. So what you're going to hear tonight is we're going to talk a little bit about our school goals. We're going to talk about actions associated with those goals, and we're going to talk about our celebrations. And as we go through that, I think you'll find hopefully three main themes that you're going to hear about. Our focus on learning. So again, in the end, what are students learning? What are those results looking like, and how we're being very results oriented because that's what's driving what we're doing. And along with that is the collaboration piece. The more we're working together as a staff, working with our families, working with all our students, that's how we're going to succeed. So our language arts and math goals for our school success plan are identical. What we have is we want 80% of our students by the end of the year to be proficient on our internal assessments. Selena is going to talk with you more about our collaborative teams and our process with that, but this goes back to the work that we do within our collaborative teams. They have essential standards that they're focused on, and they've even narrowed those standards a little bit further. They have their common assessments, and then these teams, we really look at how are students performing on these essential standards in language arts, in math. We want, by the end of the year, 80% of all of our students to be proficient on those internal assessments.
So our third school success plan goal is based off from staff effectiveness and development. So for that one, we chose to focus on our PLC survey, so our professional learning community survey. So that's given 3 times throughout the year. Staff are asked to rank things on a scale of 1 to 5. So our goal is that 80% of our Jefferson staff members will identify our school at the developing or sustaining, so that would be a 4 or a 5 on that 5-point scale. in our PLC questions 3 and 4. So PLC question 3 is what are we going to do if students are not proficient yet? And PLC question 4 is what are we going to do for those students who already get it? How are we going to extend that? So like Jesse said, all 3 of our school success plan goals really, really rely heavily on our teaching and assessing cycle. So the things that make Jefferson's teaching and assessing cycle so special are that we work really hard on our schedule to make sure that all important stakeholders could be at every single one of those weekly meetings. So we are lucky enough to have our special education teachers that work with those grade levels partake in those meetings every single week with us. We have our instructional coach, when he's there, he's on a rotating basis, so we have him join those meetings. We have our literacy support teachers join those meetings, and they have a lot of great ideas on how we can enhance our Tier 1 instruction. We also currently have our math interventionist who attends those meetings, and then you have us as administrators, usually both of us are in attendance on those as well. So it is really a great team of people that get together to talk about what we can do to help everyone reach proficiency or beyond. Another great part of that is that we, like Jesse mentioned, we talk about our Jefferson Focus Essential Standards, and all of our teams have chosen to make that a part of their SLO. So their student learning objectives are also based off from those Focus Essential Standards. And the really great part about that is we're not waiting for our fall, winter, and spring diagnostics from iReady to figure out where our students are at. We know on a weekly basis where their proficiency lies on those standards, and then we can make a plan to address that if they're not there yet or if they're beyond that. Another great thing about those teams is, especially this second semester, we've really decided to hone in on those questions 3 and 4. So we've got our assessments down. We know how, as a team, we're going to do a common assessment for them. But now, what are we going to do, again, if they don't have it yet? And what are we going to do if they already have it? And that team is working hard together to talk about our Tier 1 instruction, but then also plan for our Tier 2 and Tier 3 instruction to make sure that all students learn at high levels. Another important part of that team is that we, as a Jefferson staff, decided to add some of our reading foundational skills to our Jefferson Focus standards. Not all teams have those, but we have identified at Jefferson that we really want to focus on our phonics and phonological awareness because we've identified that as an area of need for us. So being able to assess that on a regular basis and adjust as needed has been really, really helpful for our teams. And finally, because we have those weekly assessments that we're looking at, we've been able to compare that to outside assessments as well. Because we can't just rely on what our teams think is proficient, but we are noticing, based off from our fall and our winter iReady data, that there is a very close correlation between our internal assessments and our iReady assessments. So it's really exciting to see that and to then also be able to predict where we'll be at for the forward exam in the spring.
So as Selena talked about, there's a lot happening within our teaching and assessing cycle within our collaborative teams. Our biggest actions focus in 2 areas. One is on the learning of our students, the learning of our staff. So that learning for our staff happens in those collaborative meetings, happens during our staff meetings, happens during our in-service time. So we've made a conscious effort to have more professional learning during those times, connected back to instructional strategies, connected back to engagement. One of the things, as Selena talked about, the iReady external assessments versus our internal assessments, we saw differences in some of our data from where we wanted to be based upon those data points on iReady, on the collaborative work. So as we went into second semester, we did a little bit more professional learning within our collaborative teams from our specialists, identifying really what are the key instructional things we can be doing in the classrooms for all students, and then how to, with some of the small group instruction, boost specific student skills. So we're doing a lot of learning with our staff that transfers over to learning for our students. The other piece that we're doing with a lot of our actions are trying to do more acknowledgments, more recognitions of our staff, of our students, helping them to understand the work that they do as a student, how it gets their results. Work that they're doing with their strong minds for learning, work that they're doing with those bodies that are in control, how that then translates. So it's not just happenstance that learning happens. Talking a little bit more, just some photos related to that, some examples of our professional development. We have Hannah Trevarthen, Ms. Trevarthen, went to a conference related to fractions, how to best teach fractions, and at a staff meeting she presented that information for our staff so they can take that and then use that in their instruction. We have Ms. Alvarado, who is our ELL teacher. She has provided instruction on vocabulary strategies for our staff. Here she's talking about how to best use our interpreters so that we can communicate the best that we can most effectively with our families. Couple examples again of our collaborative teams at work, a second grade team and a fifth grade team. And our table, as Selena referenced, has gotten fuller this year as we brought more people into that mix. More ideas, more learning from each other. Again, we try to really be as focused as we can with our time. Now, our process within that teaching and assessing cycle and our journey towards being a professional learning community is by no means complete, but it's shown us that we're on the right path. We're moving our data. We may want to move it a little bit quicker or in bigger steps at places, but we're moving our data, and then we are using that data that we see to adapt how we're instructing. Again, results are important. We need to get our students to be proficient. We need to help all of our students get there in a short order of time.
So as Jesse mentioned, we've been working a lot on culture and on celebrations. So here are some examples. Every week we have what's called a Jaguar of the Week. So any adult in the building is able to nominate a student, but the goal is to have one student from each classroom that gets nominated each week. And Jesse and I get to go into the classroom and announce that in front of peers, make a big deal out of it. They get their picture taken by the Jaguar, and then they get to take a certificate home. It gets put up on the wall at school so other students get to see it. They get to be famous and be on the TV in the library, which they really like. But the best part, I think personally, the best part of it is that every Friday, Jesse and I get to make a ton of positive phone calls home. And it's a really, really great way to end the week. Parents sometimes get a little nervous when they get a phone call, but I'm like, I'm calling for a positive reason, I promise. So they really, really get excited to get those positive phone calls home, and it gives us a great chance to make those connections with families. Another piece of it is with our staff. So you'll notice they have very hefty Jaguar medallions. So they get to nominate other staff members, usually at our staff meetings or our in-service days. They get to share out why they're nominating another staff member, and then they get to wear their Jaguar medallion around proudly, and everyone gets to compliment them throughout the day. So like I said, that's usually about once a month or so that we pass those along.
Again, we just want to go back and celebrate the quality staff that we have, the quality students, and the quality families that we have at Jefferson Elementary. Another piece then, going back and kind of wrapping up with that strong minds, strong bodies, big hearts, we do monthly assemblies that are focused on that. And we have each month a different grade level teaches an aspect of what strong minds means, or strong bodies or big hearts means to them. This is an example of fourth graders teaching the rest of the student body about strong minds, strong bodies, or big hearts. Through then, at the assemblies, we also recognize students throughout the month that have shown examples of that. We do a new focus each month too, whether that's going back to respect or kind words or caring actions, trying to, again, celebrate what we have and also show students how their work with their strong minds impacts their learning, how their bodies and their work with their bodies impacts their behavior, and how those big hearts impacts how others feel about them. That's a little bit of Jefferson in a nutshell and what we've been working on. What questions do you have for us, and what information can we give you?
Jesse, that all inclusiveness that you have within your collaborative teams that you talked about at the start, is that unique to Jefferson, or is that something we try to do universally throughout all the elementaries?
I can only speak for Jefferson. So last year, our first year working through that collaborative process, we did not include as many stakeholders. Special education staff were not there. It was more just regular education. This year, we realized we need to have everybody's expertise at the table. We've also been able to have the math specialists, which we didn't have at the elementary level in the past last year. So Paula Letkowitz has provided really keen insights for us at that time. We also invite our gifted and talented educator Kathy Wiedenheft at times. So when we have a need to talk about students, we're able to have more people there. Our ELL teacher, Ms. Alvarado, she attends many of those. She can't attend everyone, as she's just one person, but she attends, and she has great insights for language support needs for us.
All right.
I like that you have the kids teach at the assemblies. Does anything, do you have any stories that stand out for one of the months that your students were teaching?
Nope, they're all good. Nothing strange has happened. Sometimes they do a song. It's up to each grade level, and then the teachers decide what to do. So there's really no real parameters. Sometimes there's videos ahead of time. Sometimes, like I said,
Nice.
they sing or they do a poem. It's kind of however they feel they want to express that.
Nice.
And this week we have second graders teaching us about it, so that's good to see.
Yeah, good.
I think also one of the things that I've heard on other School of the Month, especially from the elementary level, is positive reinforcement. So I think we've heard that universally throughout all the elementary schools, how you have all this recognition during the course of the week, and then those phone calls that go out to parents. And I think that's a great touch point, especially from a positive standpoint, that we continue to do. So appreciate that.
And our staff do a nice job of that, as with other elementary schools, postcards going home, positive messaging or communications, because there's a lot to celebrate. Even at times when you have a student that may be struggling with some learning or some behaviors at times, there's so many positives to see within each of the students too. And it's important the students hear that, and it's important that our families hear that, because there is a lot of goodness.
Jesse, do you plan ahead for what type of professional learning you'll do at any one time, or do you get feedback from the staff as what they'd like to have, or how does that work?
Yeah, that's a good question, Marge. So we go into the school year with a plan based upon what our perceived past needs have been. And that's the skeleton, but then at times we do adapt. For example, the picture of Ms. Trevarthen talking with us about fraction strategies, that came up as an opportunity that was given to some of our staff members, and Ms. Trevarthen took that. So because of that good information, that wasn't pre-planned in advance to start the year, but I asked her to be able to share information with the staff. So we do, it's kind of the both worlds. There's a plan, but we can also deviate from that plan as needed.
Yeah, appreciate y'all having us. It was a very nice visit there to talk with you and the rest of the staff. I know we made some visits to different classrooms. We went to a kindergarten classroom, and it really, they're writing words and practicing the phonics on their whiteboards. And one thing that really stuck out to me was the quality of the handwriting that these kindergartners had. I mean, I can think of one of my brothers has terrible handwriting, and I thought, wow, these kids can write better than my 24-year-old brother. So that was good to see.
This is a public video, Ike. I'm just kidding. Your brother's going to be upset.
Yeah, he'll get over it. We learned a couple different facts going through the classrooms as well. Let's see, we got into the third grade room. I got a chance to take my own little group and work on a math problem, so that was fun. And I know you are thinking, well, Ike, you're not a certified staff, but when it comes to elementary math, I'd knock it out of the park. Couple different ways we solved the problem. There was, we had, the gentleman wanted 24 trading cards, and he had 15, so we had to figure out how many more he needed. And we worked through that, so, and like Chad said too, I think the acknowledgement of students, you know, that positive reinforcement is very important, so I'm happy to hear that that's going on too. Thank you again, though.
Thank you.
Anybody else, any other questions, comments? All right.
Thank you for your time tonight.
Let's get to it.
We have an auditor join Give him a minute. We get a discount. Oh, there is. Otherwise, I'll volunteer to wing it, but my report might be biased, so we probably want the auditor. Patience is a virtue.
Looks good.
Hey. Now try talking, Paul, see if can we hear you? That's not good. You can hear me? That's wonderful. Try again. Yeah, go ahead. Call Cash. We'll keep you on the video. Call Cash and then put him on speaker, will you? Up to the mic.
All right, Jan? All right, I'll put you on speaker.
Crank him up. Okay.
Nice. Does this work?
Yep. Uniquely.
All right. Good to see everybody. Everyone can hear me loud enough?
Sure. Can you turn it up a little bit? All right, go ahead, Paul.
All right. Mark, does everyone have a copy of my presentation or should I pull it up on the screen here?
Are you talking about the brief?
Exactly, yeah, the two-pager.
They do have the brief in their folder. They also have all the other supplemental documents.
Okay, perfect. Then I'll use that, and what's in front of you then to kind of walk through. But additionally, you do have some bound documents. Those are the financial statements and the audit result letter, which are ultimately the outcomes of the audit process. I use that two-page handout to kind of summarize those documents. The biggest takeaway from the audit process is that the district received an unmodified opinion for both the financial and the single audit, also known as a clean bill of health. What that tells you is that all necessary disclosures have been included in that financial statement document, that all necessary accounting standards have been adopted and applied consistently year over year. And so really at the end of the day, when you hire an external auditor, this is the outcome that you're looking to hear. Okay. I do provide a brief look on that handout of some financial highlights. I won't spend much time going through it other than to note you have about $6.2 million in the general fund in fund balance. The biggest piece falling into the unassigned category, that's the reserves of the general fund. Continues to be a very healthy financial position in the general fund. Good amount of reserves in there. On page 2 of the handout, at the top there, look briefly at budget to actual activity. Had positive effects when you compare where you planned in the year. You had planned to add about $21,000 in the general fund to fund balance. You added $212,000, so positive swing there. And then special education ultimately in that other financing sources, you had planned to have to transfer about $4.6 million from the general fund to balance out that fund. Only had to transfer about 4.4, so less in that, so a positive swing there. Besides the financial audit, because the district receives more than $750,000 of federal dollars and expends that in a given year, the district has what's called a single audit, where we look at the federal grant programs for compliance on how that money is spent. And in Wisconsin, anytime you have a federal single audit, you also have a state single audit. So we did complete that for the district. Happy to note, again, unmodified opinions from that work. No significant findings or unexpected results in that report to share with you. We do continue in that audit results letter to highlight a few material weaknesses of the district. As I've shared with you in the past, those material weaknesses are out there and presented to you so that you're doing your due diligence in what management's providing you. They're not highlighted in a way saying that management isn't doing what they should, but there's a cost benefit decision that's been made around some of the segregation of duties, some of the outsourcing related to the preparation of that financial statement document, that it just doesn't make sense to have a specialized governmental accountant like myself on staff to prepare that once a year annual report. And so under our professional standards, we have to make you aware that you've made that decision. But again, that's consistent with 95% of the communities and school districts that I work with around the country. In that letter, we also lay out some required communications that we need to have with you as the governing body. This is where we list out if there were any new accounting principles that took place during the past year. We list out the accounting estimates that we evaluated during the course of the audit, meaning, were they clear, neutral, and non-biased, meaning ultimately appropriately to be included. They were. Had we had any difficulties in the audit process, I would be required to note it in there. We had none. Audit process was very smooth. I would say it was consistent with what I experienced with the district, prior to say 3 or 4 years ago, where things kind of slowed down. And that says a lot with the transition that took place this year with Ryan stepping in right at the tail end of the year. He grabbed the reins, delayed the audit appropriately to make sure he was comfortable with what the information was that existed before providing to us, and that ultimately led to an efficient and effective audit process. And so we met the DPI deadline for the first time in 2 years, and happy to say that, again, there were certainly no challenges in performing the work. Lastly, we do lay out kind of timeline looking forward to future years. If there's things that you'd like us to be aware of or kick the tires differently on, it does lay out kind of what next year's audit timeline does look like and when I would need to know that information. But with that is my short and brief presentation. Happy to answer any questions that you may have for me.
Excuse me, anybody from the board have any questions?
No?
Pretty similar report as previous years, so I appreciate your efforts in providing us a summary detail for us to look at. Appreciate it.
Sounds good. Thanks, everyone. Good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Mr. Cashman, you did a nice job holding that
Thank you.
in place.
It's harder than it
Very
looks.
steady. Nice job.
I just want to comment, I think his comment about the effectiveness and the efficiency of how the audit went is a good reflection on you and the connection that you had with Anne Marie going forward and everything like that. So thanks for your help on that, Ron.
Thank you.
Well done. All right.
Yeah, you want us to accept the
Yep.
report as presented?
Yeah. I'll move that we accept the audit report as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept the audit report as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those not, same sign. All right, so that moves us down to 8.4, summer school.
All right, I feel like I was just here, but it is time for a Summer School 2024 update. So I'm just going to go through a brief presentation just about location and delivery and just a few updates regarding Act 20 specifically. So first, we have our dates and location. So it's going to run very similar to how it's run previously. It will start on June 10th and run through July 25th, so a total of 6 weeks. We'll have the week of June 30th, which is the week of July 4th, off. And then it will be Monday through Thursday at the elementary level, and the high school will be Monday through Friday for credit recovery. Locations, right now, we are between Prairie View Elementary and Jefferson Elementary, but just due to the HVAC updates this summer, it kind of depends on what that might look like for our summer projects, but we'll be sure to get that information to parents before we have that decision made, before anything goes out. And then the middle and the high school will run the same as it has previously, where the middle school will be hosted at the high school. So instructional delivery, elementary school, like I said, it'll either be at Prairie View or Jefferson, and it'll be in person. The academic and enrichment will be our two focuses. So we will have some remedial academic support in math and reading, and then we'll offer different enrichment courses just as we have done previously. So we'll have students rotate between 2 to 3 class periods, and then we'll have 2 lunch and recess periods. We're working on enhancing our format for summer school to provide more research-based interventions based on the science of reading. And this is something that, as an elementary team, we have been really focused on the past few years, just because that is something that we find is beneficial for our students' growth in reading. And as you can see, that bottom part, because of Act 20, students on reading plans will be recommended for summer school, and then we'll be able to support that with the best that we can, using some science-based reading instruction and interventions. The middle school, like I said, it'll be in person at the high school, same format as previous years, academic and enrichment. It'll rotate through 3 periods, each at 60 minutes. And the enrichment ranges from games to crafts to dance. And then the high school is in person, and credit recovery will be the primary focus once again. However, we do have some high school staff that are looking at providing some enrichment opportunities that are new this year that I think our students will be very excited for. This is just historical enrollment. So as you can see, it kind of goes back to 2020, and that summer was mostly virtual. Then we have 2021, 2022, and 2023. And in 2019 is when we held summer school at one location, and that was Prairie View. And then we kind of split it between multiple buildings. And as you can see, last year when we held it just at one building, again, that was when our highest numbers are. So we've noticed that for student enrollments, we have the highest number when it's all at one building. Middle school has gone up significantly from 2020, and then high school has kind of ebbed and flowed. So we had a little bit of lower, higher, just because that next year we needed a little more credit recovery, and then it's kind of evened out. So our staffing projections, we will have one summer school administrator, and that will be the summer school principal. And that person will oversee our certified staff, secretarial staff, teaching assistants, and students, as well as we'll get support from the elementary principals at that time. In the past, we've had about 20 to 25 certified staff and 20 to 25 teaching assistants. It all kind of depends on student enrollments and student needs. Sometimes we have students that are enrolled in summer school that receive specialized services, and depending on their needs, we need more teaching assistants. We also have 2 secretarial staff that will support our summer school at the elementary level. For the middle school, we have the rotating administration, and that'll rotate with the high school just because both middle school and high school will be at the same location. In the previous years, we've had about 6 certified staff for middle school, so we have 2 that are in our remedial math and reading, and then we offer the enrichment courses. Secretaries are rotating, so again, those are our 12-month contract secretaries that work throughout the year. And then depending on the need for the students, we have our teaching assistants, so they're a little bit lower at the middle school and high school level, just our needs are less than the elementary. So lunch and transportation, we're going to continue to collaborate with our food service, and we will be able to provide lunch to our students and our families with no cost, and then continue again to work with First Student for transportation. So we'll have shuttle buses run again for the elementary level, as well as door-to-door pickup for your students who are recommended. Summer school is at no cost, so some enrichment courses may have material costs, but it's no more than $5. And if a student is on free and reduced, their fees are waived. So just looking ahead into the next few months, this is kind of what is going to look like. So in mid-March is when our course books are sent home to families. Then in April is when our registration is due. At the end of April, we'll finalize the staffing and the assignments. Student schedules will be sent home mid to end May. And then end May, early June, we'll secure the transportation details. And that's all I have. Does anybody have any questions?
I just have one question. What is the time period that the elementary kids are then in school? Is it-
Yeah. So they're there from 8:30 until about 12:35.
And then that includes the lunch, the 12:35?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So we have 2 lunch periods. Normally we do like the younger students for the earlier lunch and then the older students for the later lunch. But that's about an hour, so they'll do recess and lunch during that time.
Okay.
Staffing is never a problem with summer school?
Oh!
It is, that's,
No. It's a challenge just because we have a lot of students that are interested in the enrichment courses, but to be able to fill all of our needs can be a challenge. So sometimes the numbers are higher in the enrichment courses versus the remedial courses, but we try to be as creative as we can with what that staffing looks like. And I think last year when we were able to increase the pay for our certified staff as well as for our TAs, I think that helps support the staffing.
You had mentioned some possible enrichment courses for the high school, which is something we really haven't done before, but we did have them at the middle school before, correct?
Yep.
And those will happen again, something similar?
Yes, yep, and we have some new, even, there's a tennis possibility for our elementary and middle school students, as well as like a clay making and knitting and crocheting opposite of Kids in the Kitchen. So people, I think, are excited for maybe some new things, and I think our kids will really enjoy it as well.
Awesome, thanks.
Anything else?
All right. That's it, thank you.
Thank you.
I make a motion, we approve the summer school schedule as presented.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second then to approve the summer school 2024 as presented. All in favor, say aye.
All right.
All those not, same sign. All right. 8.5.
All right. Buckle up. Strategic plan mid-year update. A few goals for our time together this evening. One is to provide the board with a general update regarding the status of our DSAs, or district strategic actions, that we committed to this year. The second goal is to just provide some reference back to the school success plans and foreshadow, again, a more comprehensive breakdown of mid-year data that's going to be presented through Teaching and Learning Committee on February 26th. And I know our principals have marked their calendars accordingly and are very excited to be here and talk with the committee more about their school data. And then the third goal is to seek approval from the board to extend our current strategic plan efforts through the 24-25 school year. All right, so relative to our DSAs, our first DSA is implementing and refined RTI system with a particular focus on the use of research-based interventions and programs, monitoring for decision-making. And for all practical purposes, just kudos to Rob and Tiffany for their work on this particular DSA. So a little bit of an update. We've added research-based interventions to our menu where we had gaps, and also added math intervention staffing at the elementary level. We've refined our SEL, or social emotional learning interventions, our monitoring intervention success quarterly, and the site levels are actually monitoring those things on a monthly basis. We've also had the opportunity to increase our SEL interventions with the high school, now running academies for SEL needs, which when you think academies, think of maybe a more traditional term like groups. So like running groups that maybe the counselors or student services team would be providing. The middle school has also been using BEST data to organize their academies or groups. And currently we have about 64 students that are being served through outside providers or partnerships with outside providers. And that work is taking place during the day for the most part. And we've added some AODA support counseling at the middle school and are currently serving a group of 10 students. So some really positive movement on that front. DSA 2 is district level administration working in tandem, bless you, with building level administration at all sites to ensure each school has the necessary time and structures in place to implement the teaching assessing cycle effectively. You heard a wonderful example of some of the work that takes place at the elementary level when Jesse was talking about his Jefferson team, and I would say that there are core elements that are really robust at all of our elementaries. And each elementary then is kind of at just a few different nuances depending on the individual site, but that's something that we should really, really be proud of. The middle school also has some really solid practices in place, and the high school is working directly with Rob and his team, and Russ and his team is doing a good job of kind of bolstering that process and putting a TAC system in place, teaching assessing cycle in place. And Rob and his teams are continuing to monitor what that support can look like and work directly with the principals on helping things be more effective. The third DSA is district level administration and its consultants will identify, define, and present solutions with cost options to support the board and community in making informed decisions regarding facilities and capital improvement. I think people are obviously very aware of a variety of informational sessions or otherwise that are taking place to help build some capacity and context for community members as it relates to possible solutions for facilities in the future of our district on that front. So just looking ahead now, the board's operations committee will have an opportunity on February 26th to review a draft of a survey that will engage or provide an opportunity for all of our citizens that live within the district boundary to respond to that survey and provide their feedback regarding maybe what their palette would be for supporting some of the work that's very, very needed. So there's a core team that works on this at least every other week. And then there's a lot of work and number crunching that I know that our Director of Business Services does. And yeah, looking forward to kind of what the next chapter of context is for us. DSA 4 is enhancing recruitment and marketing efforts to attract and retain high-quality candidates in the region. So Dr. White and her team continue to participate in a variety of job fairs. I know that I think already this year they've participated in 3 with our UW schools, UW Stevens Point, La Crosse, and Oshkosh. And she has also done a really nice job of allowing other administrators to participate and engage in that, which I think is very good for prospective candidates to be able to talk also with principals. It's also very, I think, healthy and positive for other administrators to be able to get out and connect and see how important and valuable those opportunities really are. As far as retaining staff and those efforts, our wellness committee does a lot of work on that. So there's a wonderful group of people that are working on that. I'm sure folks see emails or other celebrations coming through on those efforts, which is very, very positive. And then we're continuing to really work hard with networking with graduates of the School of Education and helping to provide more resources for our folks so they feel supported. And we'll see more of the fruits of that labor as things amp up here in the spring, because we are getting really close to a more traditional hiring season timeline. Although we know in any market or industry right now, it's always hiring season, so. DSA 5. So DSA 5 is finalizing childcare partnerships along with facility use expansion to support increased access of quality childcare for staff and community members. So our partnership is essentially being finalized or finalized almost at this point in time. We've had a lot of work in the background on some of these efforts, and there's been a core group of people, dates back at least 18 months, that have been engaged in this conversation, and we're optimistic we will share a press release with our community and with our media partners later tonight or early tomorrow morning that shares the fact that we will be partnering with community care in town to provide child care services that will increase opportunities for all members of our community, as well as provide a benefit opportunity for our staff, which is a huge value add as we do our best to continue to try to attract and retain the best people we can. So that's going to be a wonderful thing for our entire community. So that press release will have a little bit more detail, but shout out to the board at Community Care and Renee Henning, as well as, quite frankly, the YMCA of Dodge County, as well as Dirk Langfoss, for their partnership. This is a shared lift effort, something that everybody feels good about. This isn't about competition. This is about people coming together that care about our community to provide a common solution and improve opportunities for all of our families. So that's awesome. And then DSA 6. So that is kind of an exciting thing that has started to gain a little bit of traction. The DSA was partnering with students and other stakeholders like law enforcement and emergency personnel to strengthen safety measures by leveraging their own personal expertise and experiences. And the idea behind this was essentially, the kids coming together with some of the decision makers and the planners to talk a little bit about how they can provide context, they can develop ownership and capacity as it relates to some of their work and planning in making sure that the schools that they're attending, because the schools are there to serve them, provide them with the safest possible experiences. So got a little initial traction, and then as people know, we had a transition in our district facilities and safety officer. So our new DFSO, Troy Marshall, has had the opportunity to sit down with Mr. Chad Wally, and Chad Wally, our associate principal at the middle school, has got wonderful background and experience with these types of efforts. So they're going to work through a shared lift, develop the appropriate capacity, and kind of set the stage for the next chapter in this work. And we anticipate having a really positive update and getting some good movement later in the spring. Just kind of going back, school success plans, that's a big part of our strategic planning efforts. So I think the board and folks that engage in the board meetings have heard constant focus on reading and math, and then either student connectedness and or professional practices during those reports that are provided the school of the month. Again, just like we heard from Jesse, teed up some great background here. So I think the way things are set up each month, we get a little bit of a deep dive into elements of our strategic plan. The board had the opportunity during the workshop in the summer to review those school success plan briefs. I would encourage folks, if they're interested, to go back and kind of rekindle a little bit of their engagement with that, particularly before the teaching and learning committee. And along with that, again, reminder, at the teaching and learning committee, we'll go into more of a detailed data dive on some of the progress associated with our school success plans and the work our staff and principals are doing. And there will be a number of things to celebrate, but there will also be a number of things that we need to continue to double down on to do the best work we possibly can for our kids. So I think what's really refreshing for me is that our principals in no way, shape, or form are satisfied. Even sometimes when they have good progress or nuggets of progress, they realize that our kids and our staff's talent is capable of more, and they're continuing to push for that. So that's great work. Also remember, you do have access as far as the metrics are concerned. Many of those have been updated to the extent possible, and then within those tabs you can see other elements of data that you'll hear more about again on February 26th. And then there's this, strategic plan extension. So the current plan that we're in right now was developed in the spring of 2019. Those dates ran from 2019 through the spring of 2024, which technically that would be this year. Without going into a lot of detail, we did have some of our efforts regarding our strategic plan work disrupted from the spring of 2020 through the spring of 2021. If people close their eyes and reflect, they can probably remember what that was about, but I don't like to talk about it. So what I am asking is that the board approve an extension of our current strategic plan dates through the spring of 2025. That would essentially allow us to have kind of a full and complete 5 years of more traditional engagement with the strategic plan. And obviously, I think if we look at our metrics and look at our efforts, it's not that we've hit every target yet. So there's definitely still room to continue to grow and improve. And then with the understanding that if the board does essentially grant or support this extension, that in the spring and summer of 2025, which would be next spring and summer, the intention would be that we would then work through the development of an updated strategic plan to set our course through 2030.
Questions, excuse me, questions for Mark?
So there's just a couple that, we've really, I don't even know if we're close to the end of, but especially with the childcare one, we're close to I guess I would say the next phase of that, more than the end of that. And I feel like we've made some really great progress on the measurement of those goals this year. We've been super transparent. We talk about them all the time, but all of them have a lot of room for growth. So I would like to make a motion that we extend those goals for another year.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second then to approve extending the strategic plan 1 year. Look for a,
I'm going to guess roll call.
yes, we do not need roll call. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those,
He's ready to go.
all those not same sign.
Thank
Aye.
you. Thank you. And if there's anything in particular that folks want to make sure that they hear more about at the Teaching and Learning Committee in February, I just encourage you to reach out and let me know.
All right, that moves us to 9 and 9.1. Gracielle, what's going on with the student body?
So it seems that the month of February comes with a lot of different things to celebrate. So the organizations and clubs, especially in the high school, have been trying their best to show how important it is that these ideas get the spotlight that they deserve. So at the start of the month, many members of the FFA competed in the District Leadership Development Speaking Contest. There are 2 individuals that are advancing to sectionals in March, as well as a small team that took first in the competition. And some members of the organization also competed in the virtual Northeast Wisconsin Career Development Events Contest, where the poultry team took second place. And last Friday, the FFA advisor and some chaperones took over 30 members of various clubs on a tour to the UW-Madison campus and to a Badger men's hockey game. The organization will be partaking in many leadership opportunities, such as FFA Day on the Hill, where members meet with representatives at the Wisconsin State Capitol, the Dodge County Healthy Water, Healthy Soil Farmers Group Soil Expo, and many will attend the FFA Farm Forum in Wausau, Wisconsin. There's currently a junior member of the FFA that has spearheaded the teaching of second grade students. So young students are given an agricultural lesson called A Day Without Agriculture, in order to show just how important agriculture and those that are in agriculture are to our world. And lastly, the club will be celebrating National FFA Week starting February 17th, and they invite all members of the high school community to participate in the dress-up days, activities, and trivia. The Beaver Dam High School Student Council has been working toward togetherness and compassion within the school, and they kicked off the start of the month by selling Valentine's chocolate boxes that will be delivered during homeroom this Wednesday. Members of the National Honor Society have also been doing some Valentine's festivities, and they've been creating Valentine's Day cards that will be delivered to local fire departments, police stations, and hospitals. And the club is also working on expanding, as the advisors have sent out invitations to begin the application process to juniors that have a GPA of 3.5 or higher, and the new members will be inducted into the organization in late March or early April. Many of the individuals involved in Key Club have been working the concession stands at the high school basketball games. The funds will be donated to the American Heart Association due to it being Heart Health Awareness Month. 9 members of the club will be attending the Decon Convention in early March, and some have even earned state board titles. And towards the end of the month, the club will be starting up the Thirst Project Coin Drive, where the money gets donated and used to build wells in places that are in need of clean water. Another organization that has been helping out with the concession stands at the basketball games is DECA. And these funds that they're raising will be going to just the organization in general to help fund other events that they are planning. And the members have teamed up with the Benvenuto's restaurant to host a fundraiser, and this will be happening on February 19th. And at the end of the month, the 9 members that qualified for state will be competing in Lake Geneva, and some will even be working towards being Wisconsin state officers. Another form of connectedness that is being worked on within the school community is donating to different organizations. HOSA is currently holding a hygiene drive. And they are taking donations such as laundry detergent, body wash, shampoo, and conditioner. And this donation event is open to both high school students and staff, as well as the Beaver Dam community. And all the donations will be going to pave in their new building that is getting set up currently. And a widespread event occurred last Thursday called Pasta with a Purpose. So this event, originally started by the high school FFA, has invited other organizations to help fundraise money for the United Way of Dodge County. The various clubs include FFA, National Honor Society, Student Council, HOSA, DECA, and FCCLA. Tons of members from all the clubs volunteered to help serve the community a pasta dinner through both a sit-down environment and a drive-through. And all clubs also created a raffle basket that they put together or had donated from a business in town, and that was actually really successful, and we had a really great turnout, so.
Awesome. Questions, comments?
Sounds like there's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, I've probably said this before, but I think the board really appreciates your efforts in going around and providing updates on all the organizations, clubs, and everything else that's going on within our school district from a student standpoint, so I really appreciate it.
Great job.
Thank you.
All right, with that, we'll move on to 9.2, operations.
The Operations Committee met on January 22nd. Isaac, John Kraus, Joanne, and myself were present. Mr. Gerber, the high school associate principal for athletics and activities, and Dr. White, director of human resources, provided an update on compensation structure for advisors and coaches. They reviewed the plan along with the budget impact, and we will be making a recommendation here to approve that plan. Mr. Marshall, District Facilities and Safety Officer, and Mr. Cashman, Director of Business Services, presented a list of proposed maintenance projects for the summer. And the projects include work at Prairie View, Wilson Elementary, along with other district-wide projects. They also reviewed other projects that will be on hold due to budget uncertainties. And we will be having a recommendation to approve the list of projects that will be presented at this meeting today. Our next meeting is scheduled for February 26th.
Marge, I think you got a couple motions then that come out of operations?
Right. The first one is the recommendation to adopt the advisors and coaches compensation schedule. It was presented through the committee, through the operations committee, and we would like it to be effective July 1st, 2024. This, a historical context, it came about doing stuff, looking at activities and athletic stipends back in last year when we were reviewing things. So we're hoping for the implementation this July. So I make a motion that we accept the advisor and coaches compensation as presented.
Second.
All right, and obviously.
And that's a roll call vote.
Yep. Obviously, you've all heard the presentations at the committee level. You have the information in the board packet. Any questions or comments before we move forward?
No, I think it's a little overdue, and it makes for an even keel, and budget impact's very minimal, so.
I just really want to recommend you guys, or not recommend, I want to thank you guys for the deep dive that you did into this. There's a lot of changes in this and a lot of just a look at the compensating people for the work they do, how they're compensated, and the equity for all of our student athletes and activities, students involved in the activities. So thank you for all the time that you guys put into this and making sure that we're not only fair within our district, but comparable within our conference. So thank you for all that work.
And before folks take a vote too, I just wanted to maybe invite either of the Ryans to share some context regarding financial impact, just so folks are clear on that. I know whenever we talk about compensation, not everything we do to necessarily improve something results in some type of arduous burden from a compensation standpoint. So maybe just share what the actual anticipated budget impact is from this update that we know is going to be a value add for everybody?
Yeah, so it comes out to be about $9,100. Athletics really doesn't change all that much. You will see an increase from year to year based on years of experience. That's something that's been built in for quite a while, as well as from performing arts and clubs. There's that years of experience piece. So it's relatively minimal as we move people by experience.
So 9,100?
9,100.
9,100. Okay, great. Thank you. Sorry.
Any other questions, comments before I ask for a roll call vote? All right. Roll call vote, Marge?
Okay, Isaac Dornfeld,
Yes.
Marge Jorgensen, yes. John Kraus,
Yes.
Mary Kunz,
Yes.
Lisa Panzer,
Yes.
Chad Prevey,
Yes.
Gary Spielman.
Yes.
Joanne Tyjeski.
Yes.
Okay. And next up, the summer maintenance projects. Did we,
Yeah, I'll invite
yeah,
Mr. Cashman and Mr. Marshall to come up and provide us with a brief recap and summary of what was presented to the Operations Committee, so the board can consider approving this.
Sure. So the summer maintenance projects that were presented at operations earlier this month consisted of our typical target of $600,000 is a normal summer maintenance budget. This budget includes some proposed summer projects to improve or finish off Jefferson Elementary's HVAC system, so the entire school will have air conditioning. It also includes some work at Prairie View with replacing 2 of the 6 air handling units and a brand-new fire system. This particular budget right now does include some district-wide projects as well. Those are parking lots, some roofing projects, and just some fencing and concrete areas that we need to address in the district. And right now, the proposed budget is, excuse me, the proposed budget is about $789,000, which is higher than our normal typical budget, but we are also in the last year of ESSER funds, and it's important to note that the summer projects don't always end up in one fiscal year. This is going to cover 2 different fiscal years. So we do have some other projects that if budgetary constraints allow, we will move forward with those as well. It's just a little too early in the spring right now to commit to those, but we are looking for approval to move forward with these other projects, get some work. I know Mr. Marshall has been getting a lot of quotes for a bunch of these projects. We'd like to secure the contractors so that we can get these booked and hopefully get them started as soon as school gets out this June. So we're looking for approval to move forward with the $789,000 budget, and we will, with the understanding that some other projects will be completed as budgetary constraints are more known. I just would say that this is by far the most challenging budget year that I've ever been a part of, with ESSER funds ending and the uncertainties next year, the second year of the biennial. So that's a piece that we should just all understand here moving forward, so.
And just a clarifying question too, Ryan, I think we're going to plan on doing some improvements at Wilson also, is that accurate?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
EC, and then I think, just confirming that, and then actually the majority of the money that we'll spend there is actually covered in grants that have been made available through partnership with the city, as well as grants that we were able to obtain outside of that. Is that accurate?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
okay, so I guess I'll make that motion that we approve the summer maintenance projects as presented.
I'll second it.
So I have a motion and a second. Before we ask for roll call, any final questions? As long as we got the 2 gentlemen up there.
Okay?
All right. Roll call vote, please.
Okay, John Kraus,
Yes.
Mary Kunz,
Yes.
Lisa Panzer,
Yes.
Chad Prevey,
Yes.
Gary Spielman?
Yes.
Joanne Tyjeski?
Yes.
Isaac Dornfeld?
Yes.
Marge Jorgensen? Yes? Okay.
Thank you.
Get those bids going.
Thank you.
All right, that moves us to 9.3, teaching and learning.
Teaching and Learning met on January 22nd. Present were Mary, Gary, and I. Mr. Meyer, the Director of Teaching and Learning, provided an overview of the professional learning plan for 2024-2025. He reviewed focus areas, progress on Act 20, the reading bill requirements, and professional learning opportunities and in-service day structure. Our next committee meeting is scheduled for February 26th.
And I would just make mention, for those of you on operations, might be a decent meeting to attend, teaching and learning as well, just because we will be going through, further data drive as far as school success plans go, so. That leads us to 9.4. So we a majority of us were able to attend the State Education Convention down in Milwaukee, and afterwards, we always allow a little bit of time for board members to share out anything they'd like to as far as what they saw or learned during the convention. So with that, I'll open it up to the board members.
I can start. I went to various workshops. My biggest responsibility at the convention was to attend the delegate convention, which I did, and all the resolutions got passed. It was a streamlined system this year. They kind of cut out some of the wordsmithing that was usually going on and things like that, because last year there's so much of that, we never got through all the resolutions. I was under the impression that the resolutions that we didn't look at last year would be brought up this year. They weren't. I did not find out why, which I should have, but I did not. And then after the proposed resolutions, there were a couple that were brought to the floor that didn't make the final cut. And none of those got any discussion because none of the delegates had any prior knowledge of those resolutions that they're going to be brought up, so they didn't have the opportunity to talk to their fellow board members on that. So we might see some of those back next year, but that was my main responsibility, and it actually went quite smooth, and instead of lasting 4 or 5 hours, I think we were out there in about 2.5, 3. So it's always good.
Others?
I attended a session on getting kids started in the trades, and I was super excited about it. The presenters kind of misjudged their time a bit and spent a lot of time in the history talking about what had already happened and didn't get to the part where I was excited about what could be happening. But I would like to say I just was really happy to see that this is an area of discussion, and I know it's an area of discussion within our district too, and I think that this, as we move forward, is really going to benefit a lot of kids. So I'm really excited to see helping kids find their place in the trades is something that is gaining more attention.
Others?
I can go next. I attended several sessions just to keep increasing my learning as a board member. Several of them were on finance. And then it's just interesting to see what different districts are doing with regard to mental health. So attended a good session on that. So that's it.
I was at the convention as well. I always look forward to going down there. It's my second year, but a lot of good workshops. I agree with that. Sat through, I think, 4 or 5 of them. But yeah, very good, very knowledgeable, and I always appreciate the opportunity to get to know my fellow board members outside of our typical board meetings. So that's always I always look forward to that as well.
The general session speakers were outstanding, I thought. And one of the sessions I went to was put on by Huffman Associates, and they're the ones that built Prairie View School, and they offer internships. And it'd be interesting if we have any future projects come up that C.G. Schmidt would offer internships for some of our students if we have any things in the future.
I also was at the convention, and I like to go on the educational tour that they have every year. And Maria and I both went, and this time we went to Parkside elementary school. It's an art school. Well, that's what they call it, but it's like they do all kinds of stuff with music and painting and everything. It was very interesting to see to see different schools. And anyways, and as far as I went to several different sessions, but the keynote speaker that I really liked was John Quinones, who had been an ABC News reporter. His talk was exceptional, and he talked about, especially in this time and age when they talk about immigrants coming, and he is from Texas and everything, and he says, people always say, well, you must have crossed over on the border, and he says his family lived in Texas for generations before Texas was part of the United States. So it was like he is a native, and very, very interesting. So I always like that. And the other part I always enjoy is when the group of us get together for meals and just to talk and act a little silly, and so that gives us another perspective of each other. So
I would also like to mention that we almost had to wash dishes at one of the restaurants we went out to. The superintendent's credit card wasn't any good, but
It's not completely accurate, but Gary, thanks for letting me use your credit card. Gary's still got a good credit limit.
I'm sorry.
One more thing is I know we'll talk about this over the next couple months, but this was Gary's last convention, and I don't think you've missed any years of,
The COVID year, I guess.
the COVID year. But otherwise, this was about your 32nd school board convention? So that's pretty good, and Gary's learned a lot, and he's shared some of his knowledge with us, so we're always happy to learn.
All right, I appreciate everybody for sharing their perspectives on some of the presentations and sessions that they went to, so thank you very much. 9.5, we have board engagement, opportunity for board members to explain any other engagement opportunities they were part of during the course of this last month.
I'm going to roll an engagement and a recommendation and a recognition together, and the pasta with a purpose was great. I saw you working the table. This is the first time I've ever bought a wingspan of tickets where someone said, you fill out one and we'll fill out the rest for you. So they may have wrote their phone number on because I didn't get a call that I won. But anyway, it was a really great event, and I was so happy to see the great leadership and all of the students working at that, and I can't wait to hear what all you get to donate as a result of your event. Congratulations, it was well done.
Others?
I attended the Lincoln PTO meeting the other night, so that was very interesting. It was nice to meet some new folks that I haven't met before, and it looks like they have a really good group of parents here that are very supportive of that school. So it was a pleasure to be able to attend that.
Also should have mentioned that I attended at the Watermark, one of the listening sessions, as well as a couple of other ones over, I'm never sure if they're this month or last month, but I've had the opportunity to attend a few of the sessions where we talked about our facilities plan, and I'm really grateful for the people that attended those. There's usually a few empty chairs, so I'd love to see some more people come out to learn more and ask questions, but those are presentations where you'll really learn a lot, and encourage people to come, but Mark's doing a good job, so thanks for that.
I also attended one of the Watermark presentations. I think Joanne and I were at one of the same ones, and although there weren't a lot of people there, they were engaged in asking, real appropriate questions and asking us what was going to be the next step. And I also attended the staff advisory team meeting with Mark, just to sit in and see what happens there. And I was very impressed with all the people who were there, and that they felt comfortable giving, expressing their needs and their opinions and everything like that. And it's from every level of school that they're represented. So that was interesting.
Others?
I attended a couple information sessions, one at the Watermark and one with the Rotary Club. Again, I would also agree with the comments that people there were very engaged, and we got some good feedback from people there. So hopefully we'll continue to do that. Appreciate Mark's efforts on all that. Also attended a girls' basketball game. They won. Jefferson School of the Month. Appreciate you, Selena and Jesse, taking us around, not only giving us the tour, but also just taking the time to explain exactly what the teachers are doing in the classroom, and then reading specialists as well. Just really appreciate that, and taking the time. As board members, we can all keep learning as well. So thank you for that. And then Pasta with a Purpose was great. Really nice event once again.
I went to the School of the Month at Jefferson. Big shout out to our Kids in the Kitchen and our food service. We had banana bread with chocolate chips in them, and they didn't skip on the chocolate chips, so that was good. Very delicious, so big shout out to those folks. And then I went to the anchor game for the boys hockey against Sheboygan at one point.
Others? Otherwise, we'll move on to recognitions as well. Anybody that has engagement opportunity or recognition? Mark?
Yep, all right. A few recognitions here. Staff and parents, it is Parent-Teacher Conference Week, if you would like to call it that. So conference is going on in middle and high school tonight, and then Tuesday and Thursday at our elementary. So that's part of the bridge and part of the partnership and helping do the best we can for kids. So appreciate all the staff and their extra hours on these types of weeks, and also the parents for engaging with their kiddos' teachers. This week is School Bus Driver Appreciation Week, so make sure you thank a school bus driver. You can probably find an article in the news just about every week or every other week talking about school bus driver shortages, et cetera. So it's really important. We appreciate the folks that we do and have been very pleased with our partners with First Student, as well as Mr. Cashman's work and engagement with them. We've been relatively fortunate as it relates to our ability to staff. I know Mr. Gerber gets stressed every once in a while about some of the extra routes, and sometimes it can be quite a challenge to put that together, but we need to appreciate the people that we have, and they're doing a great job. Next week, it is Crossing Guard Appreciation Week. So when you think about our school locations, we have a number of crossing guards, so I want to thank the crossing guards for the work that they do, and also thank our school resource officers, the police department, as well as the city for their partnership and helping provide and support the crossing guard efforts. So that is truly a partnership that's invaluable. So that's all I got.
Hey, can I add one thing too? I'd just take a minute to recognize a lot of you folks in this room. I read all the weekly updates that we get, and it doesn't go unnoticed, the work that y'all are doing. I know there's a lot of things to celebrate in those updates, so we definitely appreciate that.
Yeah, and I would just remind the community, if there's any questions out there related to facilities and what the district is looking to potentially do, I would encourage you to please attend, as Joanne said, one of the upcoming community information sessions, and also specifically a open house we are having at the middle school. And Mark, I'm going to ask you to remind me of the date again.
That will be March 14th from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. And folks can come as they will or as they're able anytime during that time frame. There'll be staff there, and just want to walk up and say hi and see a couple things. You can take a tour, meet some staff, see some other information. We want it to be as convenient as possible, but stop by any time Thursday, March 14th, between 5 p.m. and 8 p.m. at Beaver Dam Middle School.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, we will move on to district policy guidelines. 10.1, resignations, retirements.
I feel like I should thank everybody for sticking around. Usually I have an empty audience here. We have 3 retirements on the board agenda tonight. The first one is Steve Kinsey, social studies teacher at the high school, retirement effective at the end of the school year. He's been with our district for 24 years. Bill Loss, principal at the middle school, retirement effective the end of June. He has had 2 stints here in Beaver Dam for a total of 6 years. Terry Wilbur is the principal secretary at Washington Elementary School, retirement effective at the end of the school year, and she's been with us for 26 years.
So if we don't approve them, are you stuck with us for another?
That's absolutely the way the contract is written, yes.
I move the board approve the retirements as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the retirements as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those not, same sign. All right.
There are 2 leaves of absence for your consideration tonight.
I move the board approve the leaves of absence as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the leaves of absence as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those not, same sign.
We have 2 limited term employment appointments on the agenda. One is John Baston, math teacher at the high school. He started a couple of weeks ago and will continue in that role through the end of the school year, pending your approval. Mary Hendricks, special education teacher at Lincoln Elementary School. She's been a teaching assistant in that classroom all year and is gracious enough to let the person in that role retire because we told them they could. So she's going to step into that role for the rest of the school year.
I move the board approve the appointments as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the appointments as presented. Marge, roll call vote, please.
Mary Quinn,
Yes.
Lisa Panzer,
Yes.
Jeff Creedy,
Yes.
Jerry Spielman.
Yes.
Joanne Tyjewski,
Yes.
Isaac Dornfeld,
Yes.
Marge Jorgensen, yes. John Kraus.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that moves us on to payment of claims.
I move for payment and claims in the amount of $3,453,572.95.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second then for payment of claims. Roll call vote again, Marge.
Lisa Panzer,
Yes.
Jeff Creedy,
Yes.
Jerry Spielman,
Yes.
Joanne Tyjewski,
Yes.
Isaac Dornfeld,
Yes.
Marge Jorgensen, yes. John Kraus,
Yes.
Mary Quinn.
Yes.
All right, with that, I ask for a motion for adjournment.
So
I move for
moved.
adjournment.
Second.
All right, motion and a second for adjournment. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.